My last book, American Predator, was published by Viking. That book did gangbusters for them. It made them a ton of money, a ton of money. My editor said to me after that book came out, whatever you want to publish next, we will do it. I said, it's this book. They said, we're going to make you a strong offer. They vaporized.
Oh, wow.
Months later, my agent comes back to me and says, you know why they didn't publish this? They were busy making a backroom deal with Maria Shriver to give her her own imprint.
Oh, come on.
There you go. Maria Shriver, her imprint about like women's empowerment, like it couldn't be more full of shit, frankly.
Right.
So stuff like this, which is, it's not gossip, it's reconsidered American history that is putting the stories, the true stories of these women and girls whose reputations have otherwise been shredded in the public square by the Kennedy machine, finally front and center. And of course, they
Well,
don't like it. But I think it would be a power move for someone like a Maria Shriver to say, wait a minute. Yes, my family has a very complicated history with women.
mhm,
I was married to a guy with a very complicated history with women who
mhm.
impregnated my housekeeper and kept that a secret for 13 years. This is all, it's stuff that's in the water supply. And it does no good to pretend that it's not there.
Yeah. I'm sure the audience knows, but her husband, of whom Maureen speaks, was Arnold Schwarzenegger, who did impregnate the maid, and she had the baby. He has a son by this housekeeper, in addition to his own children with Maria. So, the, what I think is important about the book, for the reasons you're stating, is there's so much in here about the Kennedys that was kept secret for years because there was this wink and a nod deal between the press and the sitting president when it was JFK not to cover his extramarital affairs. Some has been exposed since his death. Much hasn't. And if you look at how we talk about Bill Clinton these days because of his multiple affairs and his coming on to young women, and even talk about how Joe Biden is and sniffing the hair. What JFK did with the young women is absolutely disgusting. We all know that he was a serial philanderer on Jackie. I did not know that it stretched down to a 15-year-old, then a 19-year-old, girl after girl. Tell us about the 19-year-old girl who was working at the White House and on her first day got a tour of the White House by the president, John F. Kennedy.
First day, 19-year-old virgin, very sheltered girl, Mimi Beardsley. JFK's consigliere, Dave Powers, calls her at her desk. Why don't you come up to the White House residence? Have a drink after work. She's thinking like, well, this is a young president. He's cool. He's unlike anybody else. Maybe this is just sort of how things go here. She goes up there. She's handed daiquiris. She's gotten drunk. The president suddenly materializes. Mimi, would you like a tour? Next thing you know, she finds herself on Jackie's bed. Jackie's away. He's on top of her. She says, short of screaming, there was nothing I could do to get him off of me. Mimi had never even been kissed before. A minute, he takes her virginity, tells her to wash herself up.
Mm.
Days later, she's back at her desk, gets a call. Why don't you come swimming with the president and take a dip on one of his afternoon swims? She goes in. There's Dave Powers again. JFK's in the pool. Dave's got his feet dangling there. JFK says to Mimi, again, 19 years old, Mimi, Dave looks a little tense. Why don't you go over there and relax him? She knew what that meant. She goes over, and to her great shame, she has said this herself, performs oral sex on Dave Powers while JFK stands there and watches. Not an isolated incident. He tries it again months later in a room. His brother Teddy's there. He says, Mimi, Teddy looks a little tense. Why don't you relieve him of that? At that moment, she says no. But this is the kind of predatory abuse. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg with him and with so many Kennedy men. But that really breaks my heart.
He's taking these young women who are probably so excited to be working in the White House. I mean, it is very familiar with the Monica Lewinsky thing.
Mhm.
and turning them into whores. He was turning them into his whores, his harem, to service other men, other family members. It's absolutely disgusting. The way that we lionize this family, and you put the lie to that too, to Camelot and Jackie, and how that was a Jackie Kennedy created myth that she insisted on fabricating with the help of Life magazine. Tell us about that story.
Yeah, I mean, and again, the entire press corps knew what was going on with JFK, and not just the philandering, but the like shoving teenagers like Mimi into like the boots of cars to hide from the press. They all knew about it. So after JFK is assassinated and the nation suffers through this trauma, everybody's willing to do whatever Jackie says. And what Jackie wants is a mythologized version of her husband, not just his administration, but of their marriage. And she conscripts Theodore White, who was a fanboy of JFK's. He comes up to her house. She gives him this interview. She knows exactly what she's going to tell him and what she's not. And in the end, this myth is what comes back to bite her really in the ass, because she becomes a fiction herself, a fiction of her own creation. And she, who will later, and Jackie, believe it or not, really is the heroine of this book. And I have great admiration for her and what she made of her life. But what she did, whether she was cognizant at the time or not, in creating this myth, was allowed for the destruction of so many other girls and women in her wake.
That's right. She insisted on putting the line about Camelot into this Life magazine piece, and the writer knew it was a lie, that there was that JFK. She told some story about how he used to put it on the record player. They had an old Victrola in the White House, and JFK, this guy who's banging everything with it that's got a skirt on, is like, "Oh, sweetheart, let's play the part about, from the play Camelot, about, for one brief shining moment there was Camelot on the record player over and over." And the Life writer knows this isn't true, and the editors say no. And she was like, "It's going in there." And she wanted that myth alive, notwithstanding the fact you reveal in the book, JFK is believed to have given her chlamydia that possibly played a role in her 2 miscarriages. Do you ever think, how can I work this hard and still be in debt? The piles of overdue bills, the threatening phone calls, the never having money to do anything, it just won't stop. If you are trapped in debt, Done with Debt can be a way out. They have developed aggressive new strategies to end your debt permanently and completely. Done with Debt stands between you and harassing bill collectors. They tirelessly negotiate with your creditors to lower or even forgive what you owe, and they do it all without bankruptcy or new loans. One client said, "One phone call saved us a fortune. I wish we did this long ago." Done with Debt has unique strategies to get you out of debt faster and put more money in your pocket every month. But you need to hurry, because some debt solutions are time sensitive and you don't want to miss out. Visit donewithdebt.com, talk with one of their debt relief strategists for free. You have nothing to lose except your debt. Go to donewithdebt.com. That's donewithdebt.com. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.